George Washington quotes. Who is George Washington? Victorious general of the American Revolution, the first president of the United States, successful planter and entrepreneur. Explore the life and legacies of George Washington. Little is known of George Washington's childhood, and it remains the most poorly understood part of his life. His early experiences working as a surveyor and in the Virginia Company helped shape the man who would become the first president of the United States. George Washington's forays into the Ohio country shaped his career and sparked a global war. Despite having little practical experience in managing large, conventional armies, George Washington proved to be a capable and resilient leader of the American military forces during the Revolutionary War. George Washington quotes. Before we start listing the George Washington quotes, if you like the content, do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to receive all new. It is better to offer no excuse than a bad one. If the freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led, like sheep to the slaughter. A primary object should be the education of our youth in the science of government. In a republic, what species of knowledge can be equally important? And what duty more pressing than communicating it to those who are to be the future guardians of the liberties of the country? Human happiness and moral duty are inseparably connected. 99% of failures come from people who make excuses. I hope I shall possess firmness and virtue enough to maintain what I consider the most enviable of all titles, the character of an honest man. Labor to keep alive in your breast that little spark of celestial fire called conscience. Perseverance and spirit have done wonders in all ages. Associate yourself with men of good quality, if you esteem your own reputation, for 'tis better to be alone than in bad company. A sensible woman can never be happy with a fool. Few men have virtue to withstand the highest bidder. Experience teaches us that it is much easier to prevent an enemy from posting themselves than it is to dislodge them after they have got possession. The turning points of lives are not the great moments. The real crises are often concealed in occurrences so trivial in appearance that they pass unobserved. To encourage literature and the arts is a duty which every good citizen owes to his country. Paper money has had the effect in your state that it will ever have, to ruin commerce, oppress the honest, and open the door to every species of fraud and injustice. Real men despise battle, but will never run from it. Be courteous to all, but intimate with few, and let those be well tried before you give them your confidence. To persevere in one's duty, and be silent is the best answer to calumny. Let your heart feel for the afflictions and distress of everyone. There is nothing so likely to produce peace as to be well prepared to meet the enemy. Be not glad at the misfortune of another, though he may be your enemy. No punishment, in my opinion, is too great, for the man who can build his greatness upon his country's ruin. It is substantially true, that virtue or morality is a necessary spring of popular government. The rule, indeed, extends with more or less force to every species of free government. Gentlemen, you will permit me to put on my spectacles, for I have grown not only gray but almost blind in the service of my country. It is absolutely necessary for me to have persons that can think for me, as well as execute orders. A bad war is fought with a good mind. I'll die on my feet before I'll live on my knees. Individuals entering into society must give up a share of liberty to preserve the rest. The basis of our political systems is the right of the people to make and to alter their constitutions of government. It is far better to be alone than to be in bad company. Someday, Following the example of the United States of America, there will be the United States of Europe. Wherein you reprove another, be unblameable yourself, for example, is more prevalent than precepts. Liberty, when it begins to take root, is a plant of rapid growth. Be courteous to all, but intimate with few, and let those few be well tried before you give them your confidence. A man ought not to value himself of his achievements or rare qualities of wit, much less of his riches, virtue or kindred. To be prepared for war is one of the most effective means of preserving peace. Every day the increasing weight of years admonishes me more and more, that the shade of retirement is as necessary to me as it will be welcome. If the cause is advanced, indifferent is it to me where or in what quarter it happens. Harmony, liberal intercourse with all nations, are recommended by policy, humanity, and interest. In no instance have the churches been guardians of the liberties of the people. James Madison, U.S. President. It good to live alone than to live in a bad company. I had rather be on my farm than be emperor of the world. It is far better to be alone than to be in bad company. Whatever may be conceded to the influence of refined education on minds of peculiar structure, reason and experience both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principle. Much was to be done by prudence, much by conciliation, much by firmness. Every man thinks God is on his side. The rich and powerful know he is. Jean Anouilh, French dramatist and playwright. It is better to be alone than in bad company. Creationists make it sound like a theory is something you dreamt up after being drunk all night. Isaac Asimov, Russian-born American author. Reason and experience both forbid us to expect that national morality can prevail in exclusion of religious principles. 99% of failure comes from people who make excuses. Government is not reason, it is not eloquence. It is force. And force, like fire, is a dangerous servant and a fearful master. This would be the best of all possible worlds if there were no religion in it. John Adams, U.S. President. System to all things is the soul of business. To execute properly and act maturely is the way to conduct it to your advantage. Show not yourself glad at the misfortune of another though he were your enemy. Let me now take a more comprehensive view, and warn you in the most solemn manner against the baneful effects of the spirit of party generally. Speak not injurious words neither in jest nor earnest, scoff at none although they give occasion. Heard the bullets whistle, and, believe me, there is something charming in the sound. We have probably had too good an opinion of human nature in forming our confederation. My first wish is to see this plague of mankind, war, banished from the earth. And knowledge of books is the basis upon which other knowledge is to be built. At the end of the video, do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to receive all new,